This is episode number 25 of Dev Branch, Mastodon on and on. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at jasontucker.blog.
That's St. Reed. Yeah, she is still having internet issues. And y'all know who it is. It's your boy Jason Cosper, aka Fat Mellow Mike, back at it again on the world's most influential WordPress podcast.
Speaking of those podcasts, you can listen to us on Apple Podcast, Audible, Google, Spotify, all those places. And go hang out with us in our Discord. Links in the video description down below. Hey, Cosper, how you doing today?
Doing okay. It's a two-person water cooler today. Well, two-person dev branch today.
Yep.
Yeah, and
hopefully Say pops in. That'd be cool to see her.
Yeah, and she's very welcome to join. She's still having internet issues. It's annoying. I think no one is more annoyed at this than Say is. I just having such a hard time with it, and hopefully those things get ironed out soon.
We'll get things figured out.
Absolutely.
So,
we always do.
Mastodon. I've heard of this thing. It's a new upstart. I think they just invented it a week ago. At least that's the way people are feeling about it. And right. And now there's all these things that you can do with Mastodon. And in particular, getting your website to actually talk to the thing, which sounds pretty awesome. So you went and did this whole like in New York virtually, of course, and right. you talked about a bunch of this stuff, and I asked you, I was like, so it was like a half an hour talk, like what'd you do? And you surprised me when you told me it was like, would you say 2.5 hours?
Yeah, when Stina had me talk to the WPNYC Meetup for, I said, how long do you need me to go? And she said, as long as you want to go. And folks had questions and everything else, and we talked both about running your own Mastodon server, which I do, and like kind of what goes into that, the moderation, everything else, but also tying your WordPress site into Mastodon. And now, to be clear, and I was clear when I was giving the talk, this is people are saying Mastodon, and it's kind of a blanket term, or they're using it as a blanket term for the larger federated universe of different apps, different things that can all kind of communicate with each other in this kind of new decentralized social media kind of way. So Mastodon has sort of become this shorthand, when you search for something, you don't say you searched for something, you say you Googled it. Even if you use DuckDuckGo or Bing or Alta Vista or whatever, right. You don't blow your nose with a tissue. You go get a Kleenex and blow your nose. It's starting to become one of those generic terms, and rightfully so. There are people pushing back on it. There are folks who are just like, hey, wait a minute. There are a lot more efforts than just the core main, Mastodon, all the Mastodon instances that have been around since 2016.
Back when we were asking Jeeves.
Right. Well, see, Mastodon and the thing that underpins it and a lot of the other stuff in the Fediverse is all tracks back to this protocol called ActivityPub that sprung out of GNU Social, and kind of it was the main protocol, the main way of communicating actions and intents with other servers. So basically saying hey, I have posted a post. If you wish to ingest this post, here's how to get it. And then, like broadcasting this stuff out to all of these other, federated instances. So it's sort of a wild, weird thing. A lot of people are trying to like pin it to Twitter and to how, like, I mean, because I was an early sign up on Twitter 2006 or something like that. I mean, I've been using it for way too long. I don't use it very much anymore. Just go check in, see if I've had any mentions or direct messages like once or twice a week, and then we'll like follow up with folks. But don't really actively post to it. But a lot of people are pinning Mastodon like to, oh, this is the next Twitter, but it actually is like so much more than that. Because the thing about Mastodon and the larger Fediverse, there are applications out there like PixelFed that's kind of like an Instagram-ish sort of photo related social network. But the wild thing is because both of those things speak ActivityPub, a post that happens on a PixelFed server, you can follow that user on your Mastodon server, on your Palerma, which is another thing that also works much like Mastodon does, like a microblogging sort of service. Takei, another one that also does like very similar like Mastodon-like things, but they just kind of all have their own different ideas about how the implementation should work, how the user interface should look, things like that. But I mean, you could never follow an Instagram user on Twitter. You could never turn around and follow somebody from I mean, like I use this thing called Bookworm that's like a Goodreads alternative that also is compatible with the wider Fediverse. And if you wanted, you could go follow like my reading activity, reviews about books. Like I don't really review things very much, but hey, we gotta say.
Speaking of bookworms,
I heard you were talking about books, so
we only had to say it 3 times, and then she appeared.
I disappear when you say book 3 times.
Yeah. So, but it's just wild to think like you can't follow, a Goodreads profile from Twitter or from Instagram or anything like that. But thanks to ActivityPub, thanks to the way that these things tie together, you don't have to be on all of these other social networks to follow a particular thing. And the interesting thing is because this is all open, because this all works together, you can tie this in with WordPress as well. And you can follow, blog posts for like a blog without necessarily, I know that there are people who, will post like, oh, check out my new post on my blog. Like that's like an auto update that might get posted. With WordPress, like you actually follow the WordPress blog, much like you would like an RSS feed or whatever in your Mastodon account, in your whatever you're using on the Fediverse, and a new post happens and it just pops up in your feed. Or you can, depending on how things are configured, you can click through to the link. But if all of a sudden Tucker starts, posting 20 posts a day, and you're like, oh man, this is just way too much for me, you can like either mute that for a little bit, whatever, and still get Tucker's updates because he's posting, his updates on like from Mastodon, because he's posting on his Mastodon account here. You don't have to necessarily like kind of just turn the Tucker spigot off completely. You can just say like, okay, let's tamp it back here. I don't need to see his blog posts for a little while. Like, and the nice thing is is in Mastodon, there's like mute controls where you can set like mute indefinitely. That might be a little harsh, but like I don't want to see any updates about this for the next week or so. And maybe the woodworking project that Jason's working on, like has died down a little bit. We stopped talking about books, so say it left.
Yeah. No, so the main idea here is that because this protocol exists of ActivityPub, we're able to have this inner system communication through the Fediverse, being able to allow for a photo to show up from PixelFed, a video to show up from PeerTube, a Friendica post from whatever. As long as you're following them with the correct name, then you're actually getting that content from that particular destination.
Yeah.
That's cool. So how does the WordPress side of it tie into it? Like, what do you do to make that part happen?
See, it's funny that you're asking, because I know you already know the answer because you've been working on integrating this stuff over on the
Not very well is what my current answer would be.
You have been integrating it to the best of your abilities, especially since there are some concerns with how like when you place particular traffic behind Cloudflare specifically, some of the way that they cache things and the way that like WebFinger and a few other things that the Fediverse and ActivityPub relies on, it doesn't like that some of these requests are being cached and some of these requests are returning as HTML instead of JSON as it's expecting, and it makes things a little messy. This is one of the reasons, and I've said this before, I don't like putting so much of the internet behind Cloudflare. We don't have to necessarily get into that, but I've shared in our private chat, Tucker, 3 plugins that kind of seem to be the stack for getting like Fediverse or Mastodon like integration set for your site, which is Matthias's ActivityPub plugin, which actually you were saying, Jason, just got a recent update, right?
Yeah, where you can actually mention someone in the post, and then when it will actually go and link over to them, and it will notify them that they've been mentioned using web mentions, which is pretty handy.
Yeah. And I mean, it's very cool because effectively you can publish updates from your site, and it works almost similarly to, I mean, it's a broadcast channel, but you are sending out updates to folks. And if you do mention them, if you're talking about something that they're working on, you can actually use their handle on whatever service they're using, Mastodon, PeerTube, whatever. And like you can say, I was watching this at WPwatercooler, whatever we are at, PeerTube video, and at Jason Tucker at Simeon.rodeo, your Mastodon handle, was saying, this thing, and at Say Reed at Mastodon.social disagreed and said this instead, etc. So it's one of these things where, and all of those channels can and will get pinged. It's one of these like very cool, very kind of like I have long been saying that I want the internet and I want WordPress specifically to be a little bit more weird, a little bit more experimental. And this is weird and experimental. And it just kind of brings a lot of this spirit of like early weblogging, early, just sharing things that you're building on the internet, like back to the internet. And to me, it's just really exciting.
Yeah, there's like pingbacks and trackbacks of now, the idea that you're able to essentially ping somebody that way and have them be notified. These are technologies that existed in WordPress. It's just the more modern day version of it, which I'm hoping becomes even a more modern day version of it as we start getting further along into how we integrate ActivityPub with all these other web mentions and all these other types of technologies that are being built out for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had ActivityPub. That's your first plugin. That's kind of the one you should definitely get that installed and set up.
Right. That's the one that basically says, hey, like I speak to the Fediverse. I can it basically is like sticking the Babelfish in the air in Hitchhiker's Guide and saying like, okay, I now speak this protocol. There are things, anything I say can now be digested by anything else that speaks ActivityPub.
So would you mention WebFinger first or NodeInfo first as the way of
NodeInfo? Yeah.
So
NodeInfo. This is, and you might another one by Matthias, who has really laid a lot of the groundwork for how all of these things tie together. I could read the description here, but it's and we are on dev branch, but to like the non-technical, it's a little impenetrable. But like NodeInfo parentheses 2 is basically a plugin that helps expose your server information. So it says, here's what I am. Like, here's, the site that I am. Here's what I can connect to. And here are the protocols that I speak effectively. So you install ActivityPub and it's like you're like, okay, you can speak this now. NodeInfo is like connects and goes, here's what I can speak. Here is, it broadcasts out. Okay, like if someone decides to like look at your site and try to ingest content from your site, it goes, oh yeah, like you're looking for something that can speak ActivityPub, like what, like in Jurassic Park? Oh, this is Unix. I know Unix. Like, this is ActivityPub. Oh yeah, I know ActivityPub.
Yeah. Speaking of Unix, then you get into WebFinger, which it's a whole extra piece there where you're essentially getting the information of where it is that you're able to be interacted with. Isn't that it's how like finger of your on a Unix box would present itself as, here's all the different places that I can be connected with and what information I'm able to provide, right?
Right. It is
All my endpoints.
Despite being finger, it is like being named finger. It's more like a bullhorn. It's just like, hey, I am here. It announces your site to the wider like Fediverse. And this is mainly helpful for when, say you are on Mastodon and someone wants to follow your site. Like what's the username, Tucker, of the WP Watercooler site on
WP Watercooler at WPwatercooler. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But
yeah,
the second somebody hits that at WP Watercooler, if they just hit that, they don't know where else to go.
Right.
WebFinger helps, as long as the server is aware of it, to say, hey, there is an at WP Watercooler account here that you might be interested in.
Yeah, it's using the author URL to determine what what it is that that particular user has. So I have a user for WP Watercooler and I have a user for Dev Branch, and those two have Dev Branch at WPwatercooler.com and WP Watercooler at WPwatercooler.com. And whenever those authors post something, supposedly, this hasn't happened yet because I have like 20 layers of caching that I have to work through, will allow for it to say, I have a new post that just came out. here it is. And then if somebody's following that account, they'll be notified that, a new post has been made.
Yep.
It's a little bit different than having like an account that you're posting to, and then you can customize everything. This is a different way of kind of managing that. And, I like to explore things just like most geeky folks do. So that's kind of where, we're kind of working through that to figure it out.
I mean, yeah, you're talking to somebody who, for a while, because I heard that Nason did it, was, and maybe Mark Jaquith did it. I was running my site, my WordPress sites on Trunk. So every time that there was a new release of WordPress, I would update nightly. And it is, as somebody who did that and now no longer does that, it's an absolutely psychotic thing to do. But you very much, you and I both have the tendency to try
break
to
things.
Play with to break things, to play with the cutting edge stuff. Definitely. Courtney's put me on the spot with the post formats. Damn. Yeah, I mean,
like if you posted an image as a post format, you could have it go to PixelFed. Like if all the plumbing was created correctly.
Yes, absolutely. There is a full thing called Posse, which is, what was it? Publish once, syndicate everywhere, effectively. And it's an indie web thing where effectively, and the idea is, at least until Twitter shuts off their API access next week, rest in peace, Twitter, free Twitter API, but that effectively you could publish once on your site and then syndicate out to all of your different social networks. So if you had a post format that was basically like the classic, and this is probably getting into things for the old heads. I bet Courtney and Otto both know what's up. Probably Rochelle in the chat too. Like asides. If you have an aside in WordPress, that is effectively a status update. There's no title, there's no anything else. It's you're putting out a short little post. So you could use the post format of aside to broadcast out to no longer Twitter, but to something like Mastodon's, something, or even using ActivityPub just from your server. It doesn't necessarily need to go up to to Mastodon. It doesn't need to be broadcast out to PixelFed if it's an image post or anything like that. But I mean, I see, especially since, I mean, all Mastodon is, all of these other things is they are federated microblogging. They are effectively, I mean, one of the things that when everybody started making the push towards Mastodon back in November, I mean, there are people who have been there. I think I've been there since like late 2016, early 2017. I had an account on mastodon.social initially, but when I was had initially signed up for this, like I was like, oh, this is cool. It's kind of like Twitter, but everyone there was more about, instead of like promoting the hustle for their I just did this new blog post, come check out my Twitch stream, like use this referral link to sign up for this managed WordPress host or whatever. Like it's not about that at Mastodon. It still isn't. There are people who are kind of trying to drag that culture over to Mastodon, and I hope it doesn't stick. But the people there were really just about sharing the thing that they were working on, sharing the thing that they were building. And I think that that's really beautiful. And it's kind of refreshing. And I mean, I can't speak for you, Tucker, but I mean, that's one of the things that's kept me using Mastodon is that people people are more just like, here's this weird thing that I'm interested in. Like, and it may not even be weird. It's like, here's this perfectly, totally normal thing that I'm interested in, but I'm really fucking passionate about it.
Yeah. I also wish that at some point here we stop talking about Mastodon on Mastodon and we actually start talking about the things that we're doing instead of Mastodon. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're like we've gotten to the point where we can just talk about the stuff that's happening and not have to worry about the plumbing behind it to kind of,
Sure.
do all that stuff. I did want to give a shout to one particular plugin that I've been playing around with, which is Friends. And Friends is a plugin from Alex Kirk that lets you subscribe to other people's blogs on your site. And if they're running Friends with ActivityPub and all those fun things, it allows for you to leave comments, vice versa. So you can actually see what's going on between each other's sites. And you can follow someone that's on Mastodon on your site and also be able to follow someone else's, website on your site. And you'll be able to kind of see in one shot exactly like what's going on everyone's sites. It has a bunch of really interesting features to it. Like, for instance, just being able to like put in their feed, and then how you want to consume it, and then how you want to be able to display it. And if you wanted to like add any remarks or anything regarding it, it will let you kind of, look at all of those different sites that are out there and being able to, see what your friends are posting.
Yeah, and something I also want to mention, I'll make sure it makes it into the show notes. Courtney had asked if the WPNYC Meetup full session is available on YouTube. I think it's available on YouTube. I know for sure, and I'll make sure that it makes it into the show notes, that it is available on archive.org. One of the attendees recaptured the Zoom session we were doing and made sure to stream it out, live stream it out to a bunch of different places. And one of those places is archive.org. And my slides are also available there. You can kind of, browse the discussion and catch a lot of those questions. I think the last half hour or so of the meeting, we turn the stream off and we're just kind of generally talking and stuff like that, but damn near the whole meeting is there. So if you want to get into this a little bit more, if you want to look at my slides and everything else, that is the place to go find that.
Perfect.
But and one of the things that I kind of struck on with this, I mean, I know I see Andy Friggin in the chat. I see Courtney in the chat, and I feel like I'm on what is that? Anyway, the magic mirror on the wall. Oh, I see so and so, and
right.
But I know that everyone here, Tucker and I are using my Mastodon server. I know Courtney uses Fostodon .org's server. All of these, one of the powerful things I think about Mastodon is the servers are all of they kind of form communities. This is something that you miss being on a larger server like Mastodon social is effectively because there are so many users there. I think they're just shy of 1 million users over on mastodon.social. And I think on the little server that I'm running just for some friends, I don't think we have more than 12 people. And I mean, some of the people, they're still holdouts on Twitter, and I just gave them a place to escape to when it's finally time for them to jump ship. But there are communities that only have 100 people. I'm thinking of Darius's friend.camp, and exo.zone for the XO conference that happens up in Portland every few years. there are these cohorts of people that all kind of like communities that form hackers.town, which is mainly a bunch of like ethical, some unethical, but hackers, no real jerks. I love kind of like watching. And one of the cool things about Mastodon is you can look at like a local timeline of what's going on the server, and just sort of seeing like what the people there are up to. And you kind of get these like communities of people where you can kind of go browse and like cherry pick the things that they're looking at, the things that they're working on, the stuff that they decide to share. And is it Ice Cubes, Tucker, that has the local timeline view? You can actually,
Ice Cubes has it.
Yeah, Ice Cubes, if you're on iOS, is a very cool app that allows you to subscribe to like local timelines of other servers that you're not on. So like I have, there's a few WordPress related, like WPToots.social. I know WP Builds also has one. And I follow their local timelines. I use the Ivory Mastodon app, but I have Ice Cubes installed on my phone just so I can go browse the local timelines of these other instances and like, I'll fave and bookmark some posts. I don't necessarily have to like, have all these people in my timeline, but I can kind of like dip my toe into those streams. And I think that's the really powerful thing about Mastodon is when you start getting these communities of people that start collecting and start, kind of all following a similar vibe and really, it's like these little islands that are, you paddle your boat over to another island, see what's going on over there. And I don't know, man, I just think it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, we'll get some stuff in the show notes. What Cosper was talking about with some of the links that we've been discussing. I went over and looked on the Fediverse here real quick over on talvids.com. And we're actually streaming over there live, which is fun. So you can actually see us like it shows up right over there. So that's been a lot of fun over, seeing how that works. So yeah, play around with this stuff. If you have a place that you're trying to like put things, try the Fediverse way of doing it and seeing if it works well for you. And I think that's about it. I want to say thanks for hanging out with me, Cosper, as always.
Yeah, of course. Happy to do it.
In the chat, thanks for hanging out as well. Hit the share button. We'd appreciate it. We'd love for people to find our stuff and be able to get involved in our live shows as well as the stuff that we put online after. So here's our outro. Thanks. Speaking of which, over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the places you can find podcasts, and subscribe to us over there if you want to listen to us in audio and not watch us in video. We have most of those links over at WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. Have a good one. Talk to you later. Happy Friday.